Hi, my name is Jaden, and this is.
I'm Samantha, and tonight we are the fuck. Tonight we are moderating
Sorry, cut that out.
Aiden and Sophia's debate
For seventh period.
for seventh period.
My name's Sophia.
My name's Aiden,
And let's start.
and this is the presidential debate
All right,
for seventh period.
Sophia. Giving, given the worrisome rises of mental disturbance within the young generation of Americans over at least the last decade, what would you what would you now do to improve the mental health of our citizens?
So, mental health is a really crucial thing, especially for the young. A lot of suicides go unnoticed or unchecked, and they get asked, "Oh, what?" There was no signs, but there were signs. The first thing I would probably do is have more education towards the teachers, so they could see the warning signs. It wouldn't be their job to become therapists, just to reach out a helping hand. Be like, "Hey, I've noticed these things." Some more education on mental health. Another thing would probably be to employ someone in the domestic health and human services who actually knows about medication.
All right, Aiden, your rebuttal.
He has a minute 30.
To be honest, I don't really have one. She makes a lot of great points, so I think that it's really strong and good point. All right, I'm good.
Mr. Aiden. Mr. Aiden, as president, what would you do to increase mental health treatment within the community for our vets and their families and caregivers?
Can you repeat it? You kind of mumbled.
Mr. Aiden, as president, what would you do to increase mental health treatments within the community for our vets and their family and caregivers?
Vets as in veterans. Oh, okay. So my first thing would be like a whole, like, you know how they have Alcoholics Anonymous, right? So something like that, Veterans Anonymous. So it's a whole like therapy session and all that for any kind of veteran with heavy PTSD, right? So there would be that, and then
The question is, so I think the first thing I would do is start reworking the VA system. So the VA is the for veterans. It's what they go to get all their stuff done. So we already have something for those veterans to go talk about their mental health, especially since it's all covered by their insurance, but it's not the best care. I think what Aiden said was good. We have something like, the AA meetings, but since the VA already offers it, I think we should just make it better and make it more accessible to the people. That's it. That's all I have. Yeah.
Aiden, do you have a rebuttal?
no, it's great.
Well, she doesn't have a rebuttal.
That was basically the
Yeah.
rebuttal.
All right, Sophia, as president, how would you ensure that Americans keep their right to bear arms under the Second Amendment while also ensuring that gun violence drops?
All right. So while we keep our Second Amendment to the right to bear arms, we still have to keep a proper regulation on it. So what I believe is we should keep our existing regulations. You can't get a gun until you already go through safety courses and everything. But now we have to have. I would implement a biannual safety course where you would be required to go through all the safety, the responsibilities, followed by a brief evaluation. Make sure you are mentally equipped to handle holding a firearm. The goal isn't exclusion, but it's accountability. It's so you know how to use a gun. We allow people to have a driving license as long as they take the test, and every couple years they have to renew it. It'd be the same thing for a gun license. A lot of the problems is that people that have a gun sometimes aren't always mentally equipped to have one, and things lead going the wrong way. With these mental evaluations and the safety tests, it would make sure that the gun is in the hands of the right people. And if people think that going biannually just because I have a gun and having the mental evaluation is too much, they shouldn't have the gun in the first place. It's not really inconvenience, because what's more inconvenient than losing a human life? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of great points, but I do say that the mental evaluation every what is it, biannually? Biannually would I mean, we don't really need that if we can have a certain type of tight and very concrete type of evaluation in the beginning to see if there's any sort of threats beforehand before we issue some kind of permit. right? Stop the threat where it could start.
Do you have any closing
I
statements?
do. So for my rebuttal on this, while yes, when someone first gets a gun, they could be mentally equipped. Things happen, life happens, and so I could be perfectly fine one moment, but then life could slap me in the face, and now I'm like in a really bad mental state. Or someone could just fake the initial, but time and time again, it might cause an inconvenience, or they might think it's an infringement on their freedom. Oh, why do I have to keep doing this? But what's the cost and convenience when weighted against a human life? Me personally.
That's time.
Okay, thank you.
Aiden? Anything? Nothing?
No.
All right.
With the unfortunate rise of gun violence in institutions such as public schools, what would your plan be to combat this gun violence within the school?
To be honest, I say metal detectors every single school. It doesn't matter the funding or what it's going to cost for like the schools and everything. Like she said, a human life is more costly than, let's say, $1 million to schools in one district just to install metal detectors.
I agree with the point. The metal detectors, it's not an infringement on our rights. It's not an infringement on freedom, property, anything. But I think it also ties down to the previous question on why would those kids have the gun in the first place? They shouldn't have a gun in the first place. And if they have the gun, that means their parents had a gun. But if their parents didn't have it properly equipped it away, if they didn't have the proper safety protocols, the kid wouldn't, the kid has the gun. With the biannual trainings and with the mental evaluations, the parents would know how to safely handle a gun. They would know where to put it in a place where a kid can't have it, and the kid would know that in order for them to get a gun, they have to go through the same thing. Yeah.
Sophia, as president, how will you engage with Mexico and other countries to reform, create, and implement cooperative immigration policies?
Do you have a definition on the last thing you said?
Immigration policies?
Oh, okay. So for our immigration policy, I believe what happened or what is happening is good. People shouldn't come into the United States without citizenship, residency, or some way to prove like you're here. Okay. And right now, the reason it's so bad and our border security is horrendous is because people are having to go to lengths above and beyond to try to come over because our offices, the USCIS, is backlogged. So many people want residency, but it costs so much and the time it takes is too long. So the way I would fix that is by opening up new offices in the USCIS and start modernizing the way we paper everything. So that way it's faster. I pressed the button. I don't know if I turned it off. It makes it faster and it makes it more reliable than just paper. On top of that, since the USCIS mainly focuses on fees, that's where they get their money, opening up new offices means opening up new job opportunities. That gives our citizens new jobs. Increasing our economic activity increases our economic growth, meaning more money flows into our government.
Could you classify what these new offices might be? What might entail them?
Of course. So what offices is when someone wants to use or go into citizenship, they have to go through the entire process with an immigration worker. That's what the office is the immigration worker. It's where they go in for
Don't they
their
already have
interview.
that? They already have that.
Yes, they already have it, but it's not enough. That's why there's backlogs. It takes too long for the people. So now there's a huge line. Opening up more offices means more people get to come in.
I do want to say though, just because you have offices and stuff like that, that doesn't mean people still won't get in illegally. So I think we need to have some kind of static line of like defense against any sort of illegals that try to come in. So like better wall, stuff like that, and but less personnel because that's just too much money and time spent to spread everyone out on the border.
Any last statements?
I do have a little bit of. So yeah, people will still be coming in illegally, but the point is now more people who want to be here, that have the right to be here, that they like want to work and be valuable citizens, they can go through the right process. They don't have to go through drug trafficking or smuggling which are dangerous forms that they go to for the extreme because they think that, oh, I need to do this for a better life. In doing stuff like the office, employing more citizens and being able to open up.
Aiden, rebuttal?
Do I have one?
Yes.
No.
Aiden, do you believe that increasing border security is the most effective way to combat drug trafficking? Or should the U.S. focus more on international partnerships and demand strategies on reducing illegal?
I say we can play both into how we run the country, right? So illegal drug smuggling, it plays directly in part with illegal immigration. When you have illegal immigrants, they're most likely going to be like, since a lot of illegal immigrants, usually they get signed on by the cartels and coyotes and stuff like that to transport drugs once they're in the United States. So if we cut down on the illegal immigration that comes into our country, then we cut down on the illegal drugs. So it plays in part with each other.
All right, for mine, I think it ties exactly to the previous questioning. I think the immigration is a really tight connection to that the drug trafficking. As my other person said, if we reduce how many people come in here illegally, we can reduce how many drugs come in here legally because it's tied. People signing to drug cartels and everything. But my opponent just went, yeah, we just need stricter stuff. We didn't really give a plan as to, what that stricter stuff entails. At least with my side, we do. And I think if we partner with another country to try to do immigration and try to focus on illegal immigrants coming in, it's just going to make the problem even worse for our drugs.
Rebuttal?
Say that last part again.
I think if we tie with international and we make like immigration laws and stuff stricter, it's going to worsen the problem with drugs coming across the border.
How would that work if you try to go with another country?
Yeah, because if we make it stricter, that means less people are going to be able to have immigration. More people are going to resort to those dangerous ways. So more people are going to stuff their drugs with body and try to cross the border illegally.
Stuff their drugs with body?
Yeah. A lot of the ways that people are smuggling drugs is putting them in their body.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How will you ensure that all communities receive equal access to clean air and water, as well as equitable response to climate disasters such as wildfires or hurricanes? Yeah.
As it is, we all have like bottled water and stuff, so that's easy to buy and everything. But if we're talking about like tap water and shower water and all that, in some places it's not that good. It's like poo water just coming straight out of your shower head, and we don't want that. So I think heavier protocols and rules and stuff like that on water treatment would be really, really good just for the types of people that don't have access to clean water in the United States. Like places like Louisiana, like down by the bayou and stuff like that. It's not good water sometimes. And then for natural disasters and hurricanes, I think more involvement with like tree clearing and making those fire breaks in the forests and stuff like that, and more funding to firefighters and wilderness firefighters. And then hurricanes would be levees and stuff to divert water if there's flooding, more flood infrastructure.
All right, Sophia, do you have a rebuttal?
I do have a rebuttal. Now, what he said is good. Yeah, for the wildfires and all those the natural disasters, we already have an agency coming up for that. I think the main thing we need to focus on is the root of it. What is causing these wildfires? Oh, people leaving their trash. What can we do to make the trash better? Start putting more funding into recycling. Oh, putting more funding into education on what can I do with this trash, on why these fires and why these things are starting in the first place. I think more funding towards rebuilding is better because
That's time. Okay. Aiden, rebuttal?
I do think like having the recycling and teaching on fire prevention safety and all that stuff is really good, but that doesn't mean it's going to cancel out like natural disasters entirely. There's still going to be like a lightning strike in the middle of the woods and fire's going to break out. And teaching someone about recycling plastic isn't going to stop that fire that's breaking out. So,
Aiden, what steps will you take to ensure we collectively reduce our carbon emissions? Do you have a emission reductive target or timeline?
I think targeting major coal factories, fossil fuel factories, would be really good because they produce lots of smoke and really bad. They just put a lot of really bad chemicals in the air, so that can lead to smog, like El Paso is, or really bad air quality. So I think adding more regulations to how they release those chemicals, be it waterways or air, would be really good for the environment to cleanse it a little bit.
All right, I think while it is good, I think we should start moving to more renewable energy options. Now, yes, nothing works as best as fossil fuels, as we know in the current moment. But in open plains, we can implement more windmills, not windmills?
Wind turbines.
Wind turbines, thank you. That they provide a lot of our power. Now, what if we don't have wind that day? Then solar power. Those two are one of the highest leading causes or highest options of us getting energy and moving away from fossil fuels, which are actively hurting us.
I do think that's very smart, putting wind turbines and those open fields and everything, but it's not completely there. Like, we don't have a car that runs off of wind turbines, right? Or a solar powered vehicle.
While I agree on that, the way that wind turbines work is they turn the wind into electricity. So the cars that, run on electricity, they get their electricity from the wind turbine.
But
Do you know how wind turbines work?
Okay.
Not as a hate.
No, I'm gonna kill you.
Okay.
Cut that out.
Sophia, as president, how will you support or advocate for families impacted by drug addiction?
Okay, I think that drug addiction is something like a very serious problem. And the main problems with families going through drug addiction is that they don't have the resources they have or the education in order to help their loved ones, because their loved one knows what they're doing and what they're doing is wrong. So the first thing I would do is hold the pharmaceutical companies liable for any drugs or any medicines that they're trying to give to the person that isn't correct. I mean, many companies have made over $40 billion, which is coming out of the pockets of our civilians. I would also have overdose response training programs where it would help the parents know what to do in case of that emergency and how to get their family member up and running. I would also try to educate physicians on non-opioid pain treatments, so that way those people have medications that aren't addictive, because a lot of the overdoses are opioid based. Another one is I would return funding back to Narcan. With the past president, he removed funding from Narcan, which can cause many, many lives to be lost. Narcan is one of the drugs that reverses the effect of an overdose. I think the funding should be back to those, as they saved millions of lives in the past year alone. And yeah. Oh.
Aiden?
I think those are all great points, and I think if we include, like she was saying, more training into families, such as how to deal with an overdose, and making Narcan, well, I don't know how affordable Narcan is. Anyways, yeah, good points.
Sophia, do you have anything to rebuttal that or anything to add on to your first statement?
I do think I have just one little thing. One, we have the right, or like the must as citizens and the must as humans, to look out for one another and to make sure that people aren't taking advantage of us or our loved ones. And I think that starts with our mental health, and I think that starts with holding the people who are taking our money liable.
Since 1980, the U.S. prison population has grown by almost 800%. The United States has more people behind bars than any other country in the world. What would you do as a president to reduce the U.S. prison population and end mass incarceration?
Human centipede. No, I'm kidding. But, so I think we can always build more prisons, right? They're expensive, sure, but overpopulation in prison is a really big problem. Because let's say you have 5 guards and 100 inmates. That's not going to end well if there's a riot or anything like that. So I think building more prisons can really help spread everyone out. And then if you want to reduce the amount of inmates even coming in, heavy police intervention in crime-ridden cities, such as like cities, would be really good to stop it where it could get really bad. Yeah.
I completely disagree with my opponent. I think the main problem is the fact that there are many, many people in jail who are falsely accused or who weren't given their full right to a speedy trial or like to look into it properly. A lot of the judicial system has failed our citizens and our citizens of color. A lot of people have been put away incorrectly, so I think we should try to reform the judicial system and reform all the court clogs that we have. So instead of many people getting put into the correction centers or jails for incarceration, they would actually be able to get sentenced and get their side of the story out. And with more to that, if less people get, falsely accused, or if they still get falsely accused but they get proven not guilty, less people will be put into jails, less money will be taken out from those jails since there's going to be less people, meaning better life expectancy, I guess you could say, less harsh conditions in those jail cells. I do agree with my opponent's point on the fact that we do need more police intervention in those parts of our country where there isn't much or where the police aren't trusted as much. I think there should be a much more connection towards the police in those communities.
Aiden, do you have a rebuttal to anything Sophia just said?
I do think the part where she said people of color are not exactly like, it's not exactly just them, it's everyone, not just people of color. So white, black, orange, yellow, green, everyone can commit a crime. It doesn't matter who they are.
Well, I do agree with that. Everybody is human. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody commits crimes. Everybody can take a human life. A lot of the people of color, and color can range. Color are people of Mexican. Color are African Americans. Color, a person of color. They are more likely to be falsely accused than a white man. That's why I try to make an emphasis on the point that we have to make sure that nobody is failed by the judicial system.
That's time. Sophia, do you have a closing statement for us?
I think as U.S. citizens, we all have the moral right and obligation to do what we believe is right for our country, to stand up for our neighbors, and to make sure that our streets are clean, not just for ourselves, but for generations below us. And we owe it to the generations above us to fix what they couldn't. They set the setting stones, and now we have the chance to make actual change for our kids and those generations.
All right, Aiden, your closing statement.
Thank you for having me. What?
Hands.
Oh my.
Hands.
Oh.
Sorry.
That was awesome.
Sophia?